Speaker, it seems as though Republicans and Democrats are talking past one another right now. Mm-hmm. Is the only person who could solve this the President of the United States, and why isn't he involved?
Well, I think he is involved. I mean, I know he had a group of...
down the plan yesterday.
Well, that's what's been reported. Okay, he brought some...
No, that's not what's being reported, mate. That's what Trump said yesterday.
We submitted that. Senator Cthulhu submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no. No deals with the Democrats.
They get a deal, Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, to fund all but enforcement operations of ICE, to get those TSA agents repaid and to open up the rest of the department. Would you sign that?
Well, I don't want to comment until I see the deal, but as you know, they're negotiating a deal. I guess they're getting fairly close, but I think any deal they make, I'm pretty much not happy with it.
So it appears that the tough questions are also coming from friendly territory. A Fox News reporter pressed House Speaker Mike Johnson on issues tied to the administration's handling of the current crisis, forcing him into a position that Republicans have been trying to avoid, explaining Donald Trump's actions, a task not for the faint-hearted. And well, Mike Johnson was far from on point in his presser, which we will get to. The Speaker had to hold a press conference in the first place as airports across the country continued to struggle with people turning up to airports 5, 6, 7, 8 hours before their takeoff and still not making the flight.
What's your message to Congress that could put an end to all of this?
It would be ideal. This isn't working for us right now.
Fire them all. Fire them all.
This is taxpayer money. What's it?
My flight leaves in 16 minutes.
16 minutes.
I get up at 3 a.m.
Doesn't seem like you're making that flight. What are you going to do about it?
I don't know. Go home. Work in the yard.
Do you have anywhere to be? It's important.
Yeah,
where you're traveling.
I had a reunion with my high school buddies. So.
And now you're forced to miss that.
Yep.
Is that frustrating? What's that?
A little bit.
Can we move the line?
Yep.
We'll walk with you so that we can keep the line moving. Good morning, everybody. What time did you come to the airport?
I got to the airport at, I don't know what time I get here, 5:30, something like that.
Wow.
All right. Brooke doing a great job down there.
I feel from how they're doing the stopwatch, right? That's the way we would do it.
Aisha Hasni.
Trump and his most loyal followers would rather play the blame game than reopen the government and put an end to the chaos that Donald Trump could have resolved, but just chose not to. And don't take that from me, right? Why don't we go ahead and ask a Republican senator, say someone who usually coddles Trump, like Senator John Kennedy. Kennedy openly acknowledged that Donald Trump personally rejected a bipartisan deal that would have funded TSA and ended the airport chaos. According to the senator, Republicans had a pretty workable plan: fund the government of Homeland Security, pay TSA workers, keep airports running, and then deal with the matter of ICE funding at a later time. But Trump just said no. His directive was pretty simple: no deals with Democrats.
I hear my colleagues on the other side of the aisle wax poetic and melodramatic about how awful it is that your officers are not funded, are not able to work and get paid. And I want to be very clear. I 100% agree with that. The problem is that it is the Republicans who have voted down TSA funding over and over and over again. And you don't have to take my word for it. Let's listen to Senator Kennedy on Fox News, if we could play the clip.
The Democrats have offered to open up everything but ICE. I said, okay, let's accept their offer. And then at the same time, we would offer a bill for reconciliation where we don't need any Democratic votes to do whatever we want to do with ICE. And that way we're out of the shutdown and DHS is back open. We submitted that. Senator Cthulhu submitted that to President Trump, as is his right. He said no. No deals with the Democrats. So we're back to square one.
No deals with the Democrats. The Democrats offered to open up everything but ICE, but Trump said no deals with the Democrats.
And when Mike Johnson was asked point blank why the president was not seemingly more involved with efforts to end the shutdown, seeing as well he caused it.
Whose idea was that to put ICE at the airport?
We're dealing really...
Whose idea was it?
Mine. That was mine.
And can I ask you,
that was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? ICE was my idea.
The speaker claimed that he wasn't aware of that and chalked it up to reporting, despite the fact that Trump literally said it proudly.
Speaker, it seems as though Republicans and Democrats are talking past one another right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is the only person who could solve this the President of the United States, and why isn't he involved?
Well, I think he is involved. I mean, I know he had a group of.
Down the plan yesterday.
Well, that's what's been reported. Okay, he brought some.
He said that in the Oval Office that he was not pleased.
They get a deal, Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, to fund all but enforcement operations of ICE, to get those TSA agents repaid and to open up the rest of the department. Would you sign that?
Well, I don't want to comment until I see the deal, but as you know, they're negotiating a deal. I guess they're getting fairly close, but I think any deal they make, I'm pretty much not happy with it.
Well, I actually have his exact quote somewhere. I think he said that, to paraphrase him, I think he said he's a little skeptical or cynical that a deal is going to come together.
And then secondly, Johnson was anything but convincing on whether the matter would be resolved. I mean, he just sidestepped, softened, and reframed any question, emphasizing broader party goals rather than answering to Trump's decisions.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. President Trump has railed against mail-in voting as rigged. He said it's a form of cheating as recently as Monday. But he's also called on Congress to do away with certain types of mail-in voting in certain circumstances. But in yesterday's special election in Florida, he voted by mail. How do you square those two statements?
Look, I think some states have handled mail-in balloting well. I think Florida is a good example of that. They don't allow fraud, and they have great systems. I mean, I was talking yesterday to Laurel Lee, one of our colleagues here in the House, and she used to help run elections in the state of Florida, and she talked about how many great processes they have in place to ensure that you don't have a lot of fraud. But that is not true in other parts of the country, and that is the concern, especially in a state like California or states where they just send mail-in ballots to everyone for no reason whatsoever. It is a matter of common sense. It is an obvious thing that if you're mailing ballots out, inherently, it opens the door, at least the possibility of fraud. It's much easier to patrol that election integrity if you're making people come in person, show a photo ID, and prove who they are. Obviously, that's an obvious thing. It should not be a controversial notion. That's what the president's talking about. That's what we have talked about at long length. Some states do it a lot better than others, but it doesn't mean it's not a problem elsewhere in the country. And that's why we continue to advance every election integrity measure that we can, because again, if you don't have free and fair elections in a constitutional republic, you cannot maintain it. And there's hardly a more important issue than that. That's what the president's hung up on it, and us as well. Thank you.
And well, this moment fits into a broader pattern that we've seen right across multiple issues. There seems to be a significant split in the party. You have Republican senators admitting that Trump blocked TSA funding while the speaker deflects. You have multiple GOP officials speaking out on the Iran war, some of them resigning while others do everything they can to protect the president. And then you have Fox News calling it all out and how this doesn't bode well for the midterms.
Kayleigh, I don't want to be surprised or blindsided in November. Should we be honest now and say, are we in danger?
Yeah, we are. Talking about how worried are you that a split Republican Party will only mean losses in the midterm elections? How are you expecting the midterms to play out? And if you do lose the majority, doesn't that put the GOP behind the eight ball in terms of getting anything done, in terms of your priorities?
I don't think a split party is the problem. I think high oil prices will be a problem. I think the 2026 elections already, we are behind the eight ball as far as the electoral process. I think if you add in high gas prices, high oil prices, and if we are still bombing Iran with kinetic action, people don't want to call it war, but if there's still kinetic action that causes oil to be over $100, I think you're going to see a disastrous election.
Wow. All right, Senator, we'll be watching your work, certainly. Thanks very much.
And here's where it becomes more than just disconnect in interviews. It's showing up at the ballot box. Recent elections in Florida, including a Democratic flip in a district that includes Trump's own Mar-a-Lago base, highlight a broader trend here. Voters in traditionally Republican areas are shifting.
Democrats are winning local elections everywhere. throughout 2025 and now throughout 2026. And they're doing it all over the map in ruby red states like Florida, in Georgia, in Mississippi, in Texas, in Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. So Democrats clearly, the facts just speak plainly, the math speaks plainly as day. Democrats have huge enthusiasm behind them right now, and Republicans keep losing in places where just in November of 2024, they were winning big. And so Democrats believe that they had a good year set up because it's a midterm year. You have a Republican president, his poll numbers are down. They thought they had a good year, and they think actually as we start to move through the early spring here, the opportunities are getting even bigger and wider, broader, if you will.
That race wasn't isolated. Since Trump returned to office, Democrats have flipped around 30 state legislative seats nationwide, while Republicans have struggled to flip any back. And that's where messaging is at play here, right? Because Republican campaigns have leaned heavily on defending Trump's agenda on the economy, on immigration, on foreign policy. But well, these results suggest that that message isn't resonating the way it once did.
This is high. 469 is definitely one of the highest I've seen it, and I've been here 27 years now, so that's something to say. That's crazy.
Describe what you're going through for me.
Well, I just make sure that I focus to save enough money for the week to get to and from work instead of, or if I can, I'll walk to the store or take the light route if I can, if it's not hot. But it's going to be hot again. So, yeah. So those are some choices that I do make.
Right now, I'm very disappointed in the way this first year is going.
What's disappointing?
I think there's been a lot of focus lost on the goals of what this country could be and should be, and there's a lot of division.
It's very scary to think about stepping into this new era of, conflict with Iran. But I think in keeping with your votes, it's voting for someone who's going to protect us little people down here, the teachers and the community workers.
When voters in reliably red areas start electing Democrats, it's not just about turnout, it's about persuasion. And right now, it appears that the American people are not buying what Donald Trump is selling.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.